This is episode 421 of Wheel Bearings. I am Sam Abuel-Samad from Telemetry.
And I am Nicole Wakeland from AutoWeb.
And I'm Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
And welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
Last week was just all interviews, so got the whole crew back.
I just slept in.
Oh, okay, well, whatever.
No. No,
I made a really good excuse of why you weren't here.
The week before?
And you had to go and spoil it.
Oh, no, I had stuff to do.
Yeah.
It's just fun. My wife asked me what I was going to do today, and I'm like, well, I have to do the podcast, and then I have to nap. And she's like, what?
You have to nap. What a rough day.
Well, you talk for a couple hours. It takes a lot out of you.
It takes a lot out of you, right?
I get all tuckered out.
Yeah.
I have to do the podcast, go to an apple festival, and bake an apple crisp. That's my day.
You see,
Because it's
we
New
used to have
England.
apple festivals in my little small town because it was known for its apples, and now it's all sod.
It's New
Sod makes more
Hampshire.
money.
The whole state is known for its apples. So it's apple time. Gonna make some apple crisp. What are you doing, Sam?
After I assemble the show, I'm probably just going to sit around with the dogs and throw the ball around for Patty for an hour or so. And
Yeah, that's the life.
I finished harvesting all the potatoes yesterday and did a bunch of other stuff. So
See, we all have just productive enough days today.
I have one tomato I
could
could pick off my tomato plant.
we got the last of the tomatoes
I love
yesterday.
Yeah.
We harvested the last of the stuff from the garden yesterday. So
Oh.
I have no garden.
Our
I
pear
have nothing
tree
to
has
harvest.
decided to make more pears. It made a bunch of pears, and then it's like, hey, you know what? No, those are
Here's
all
a few
gone.
more.
Here's some more pears. What are you doing?
Pears and apples and playing with
Settle
dogs. It's a
down.
good day.
our previous house, we had we planted a couple of pawpaw trees in the front yard, and once those things start to develop fruit after a few years, they produce so much fruit that you can never get it all. So there's always some that lands on the ground that's rotting, and so every spring there's all these shoots coming up around the base of the tree.
From where they were.
So I have to pull all those suckers out or cut them off or whatever.
So they don't kill the parent.
Yeah, it's just a mess.
They don't
Plus,
murder the
those things
parent tree.
they taste pop. Have you ever had pawpaws?
No, I'm actually Googling them right now because I've heard of them, but I don't know what they are. So pawpaw trees. Do you eat? Are they these tiny fruits? Are they like grapes?
it's big. The fruit itself is like about the size of a mango. It looks kind of like a mango. But the flesh is kind of like a custardy flesh. It tastes kind of like banana custard.
Okay,
type of
I
thing.
need to try one.
It's really tasty, but they're a real pain in the neck because they've got in the middle, they've got these four big seeds. So instead of one big seed like an avocado has, you have these four sort of oval, fairly large oval-shaped seeds that are kind of across. So you can't just slice through the middle of the thing. You got to kind of cut around it and then try to scoop these things out. And they turned out to be way more of a pain in the neck than we anticipated. So after the first couple of years, I'd harvest a whole bunch of them, and then I'd bag a whole bunch of them and put them out by the curb and say, "Here, take them."
Take them, somebody.
And we'd freeze them and use them for various things, but then we just got tired of it and then we moved and never touched them again.
The end of the pawpaw tree.
The trees are still there, and they're huge. And they've gotten really big, but anyway. Enough about pawpaws.
Okay.
Pawpaws.
What did you drive, Nicole?
Well, I'll start with the one I drove the week that we were off. I had the BMW M5 Touring, which is basically like a little BMW wagon. It's a wagon, people.
That's a little.
Well, it's not little, but it's a wagon.
Yeah.
We have a wagon.
That's great.
They gave us, talking about fruit, forbidden fruit in the U.S. We never get fun wagons like this. So this is a plug-in hybrid. It has 24 miles of all-electric range to it. It's all-wheel drive, 8-speed automatic, and it's powered by a twin-turbo V8 with 717 horsepower, 738 pound-feet of torque. It's got some juice.
And it weighs almost as much as a Hummer EV.
It's heavy. Yeah. And, excuse me, it also costs $122,725. Do you guys want to take a guess at destination since we're at pricing?
$1,300.
$1,195.
Sam, you're super close. $1,175.
Ooh, that's a weird number.
I know. That's what came up with when I looked. I'm like, is that right? And I checked it like 3 times. Like, keeps coming up $1,175. We're going with that. So it's this isn't like, it's an M, so M means sporty in the BMW world and powerful and all that. But this is still not tiny, and it's a wagon. So think sporty, like I want to go cruising on the highway and have some oomph when I'm driving around the highway. Not so much canyon carving, because it doesn't quite have that kind of handling. It can get a little bit squirrely for on really twisty roads. Not like compared to not like a lot of other cars, but in like when you compare it to other BMWs, it's not as finessed, I guess, as other BMWs. It's a little bit more cruiser than canyon carver, and I think that's important to know. Even though it has all that power, sounds amazing.
It's for cruising down the Autobahn at 155 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. It's not for like canyons in California. What's the one they always make us drive? That one road, which Pacific? No.
Well, there's PCH.
Angeles Crest or something.
There's Angeles Crest. There's a few
Angeles
others.
Crest. That's what I'm thinking of. It's not for that. It's for just going in a straight line. So but it is really nice drive, and it does sound fabulous. I mean, that engine, twin turbo V8, you're driving one, sounds fabulous. It really makes, like, when you start it up, you're like, oh, I miss this in electric vehicles. It just sounds so good. So I enjoyed driving this. I thought it was a lot of fun. It had, plenty of power when you do mash the gas. It does respond. It's just the handling front that it's not quite as sharp as you might think and expect from a BMW. It has 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, 14.9-inch infotainment screen. So it has the tech inside. It's almost a little too much going on inside, though. When you take a look at the interior, there's a lot. It's a little bit too much like an airplane cockpit. Like there's too many. There's a button, there's a knob, there's a dial, there's touchscreen. This one's red and this is black. You're like, it's kind of cool, but it's also a little overwhelming. You first sit down, you think, okay, hold on. How do you drive a car again? Like it's a little. It could be simplified a little bit, but my criticisms are very small for just how it is fun, and it's super versatile. So behind the rear seats, there's 18 cubic feet. If you fold them down, it's 58 cubic feet. And there's even a little pass-through so that you could like put a set of skis in right through the middle of the back seats and still have two people sitting in the back seats. So I like it. Overall, I like this. It's a lot of money. $122,725 is a lot of money. Would I pay that much for this? I don't know. I mean, if you really wanted a wagon, if you really, really want a wagon,
I want a wagon.
You want to be okay. Would you pay $122,725 for this, Sam?
If I had the sort of budget to spend on cars that allowed me to buy cars with six-figure prices,
yes,
this would definitely be on my consideration list.
Yes, if you have the budget for six-figure cars. But for those of you who are stretching, who your budget is not really six-figure cars and you're trying to think of getting one anyway, I think you can get other things that will do a lot of what this does for you. But you're going to lose the prestige of saying you drive a BMW, because that's not undeniable. I mean, that's a performance luxury car. It's got style. It sounds amazing. It is comfortable. It's not especially like upscale. It doesn't have that like uber luxury vibe to it. But, you have standard leather seats, panoramic sunroof. You can there's an executive package where it's heated and ventilated up front, ventilated rear seat, or heated and ventilated front, heated only in the back. Sorry, can't get my words straight.
For $122,000, you should have ventilated rear seats too.
Right. So it's I like it a lot, but I'm not sure it would be, if I really wanted a wagon, I'm not sure. I mean, are there any other performance wagons? As I'm sitting here saying
Audi RS6.
And how much is that, though? That's going to be significantly less. Wait, let me see. That's a good RS6. So the Audi
That's $1 billion.
No, that's $1 billion. That starts. It's at 100. 2025. Oh no, that's the sedan. Avant. That's the wagon.
Avant. It's amazing.
It shows at my local dealership that it's $151,795, and that might just be this particular. That's the performance.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
base
still
price
a lot.
base price is $130,700 for the RS6.
So you're still in the same zone. If you want the performance luxury car with a wagon.
Does Mercedes still offer an E-Class AMG wagon in the US?
E53 hybrid wagon? Well, yes, they do, according to a Mercedes website, because it's the wagon version of the sedan I drove.
Yeah. And how much does that one go for?
It starts at 350.
It's a bargain.
It's a bargain.
So the Mercedes is the cheap car.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
you'd never think you would ever say. So I truly liked it. It was a fun car. I enjoyed driving it. It is pricey, but if you're in that 6-figure range and you want something that's a performance wagon, like we just figured out, you're looking at close to 6 figures no matter what. If for this or for the Audi, you're looking at in this range. It's going to be that $130,000. So it's not an inexpensive segment, I guess, is how to say it. So if you're in that segment, you're looking for it. I loved it. Just be prepared. More, not quite the Canyon Carver for super sporty little sedan feel. This is slightly larger. It's a wagon. So it's more about cruising on the highway and being super comfy with all your stuff in your car.
And before we continue, just something popped up in our work chat the other day. You're talking about how many people can afford 6-figure cars.
Yeah.
In the U.S. now, 1 in 5 car buyers have $1,000 a month car payment.
Wow.
Yeah.
1 in 20% of us.
Yes.
20% of people have
Well, you
my
look at
gosh.
trucks. People buy big trucks with like
Big trucks and
70
big
year-
SUVs.
Yeah, it's like 70-year, like
a 70-year loan.
70-year loans. There was that dealership that dealership that was walking around, and they were like flexing that everyone on staff their payment was over $1,000.
I don't think you want to flex that.
That's
That
yeah,
seems
that's
like
just idiotic. You should
yeah,
not.
feels like-
You should not
that
be
was the
spending that much
feedback
money
they got.
for a car loan.
no.
That was the feedback they got from.
If your
It didn't
payments,
end well for them.
gosh, I feel like it's not that you're buying an expensive car. It's like save a little money for a down
Save a little
payment
money.
before you do. Like $1,000. If anything goes wrong in your life, you're going to be screwed trying to pay for that car.
And
Yes.
most likely, if you have a car loan that is that much, you are probably going to be underwater for most of the life of that car loan.
Yep.
Like
So
like 5 minutes off the lot, boom, underwater.
Yeah.
Yep. So if anything happens to it, or ever get totaled, you're sunk. Or if you try to trade it early, again, you're sunk.
It's hard to for me to
Careful
fathom
with that, people. We all like cars, but $1,000 monthly car payment is too much money. That's
It was
too much money.
yeah. I remember when I lived in LA, there would be guys in their 20s and they would have like new Mercedes, new BMWs, but they were living with their mom and they were in like their mid 20s, and I'm like, well, that's okay.
Gosh, if you're living with your mom so you can buy a Mercedes, you're making the choices wrong.
Yeah.
Like if you're buying that to like woo women, that's we're going back to my mom's house.
Yeah. Just a little more detail here. This is data from Experian. The types of cars with payments over $1,000 a month. 53.4% of SUV buyers have $1,000 a month payment.
Oh my God.
36.8% of pickup buyers have $1,000 a month payment. For sedans, it's 3.6%. Minivans, 1.96%, and coupes, 1.85%. So
See,
stop buying SUVs and pickups and buy cars, people.
Yeah.
I have
don't-
minivan.
Yeah.
I have a whole story.
So the most responsible segment, unsurprisingly, are new parents who are trying to figure out their budget or parents with kids.
Or
you don't have a huge budget,
or
right?
people buying coupes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everyone's
Wow,
but
that's-
there's not very many of them, to be honest, and they're all BRGs and
Yeah. And
But
Miatas. But-
Miatas.
all right.
So that
Enough of
is
that digression.
that's the BMW. So that was my thoughts on the BMW. And then I had something that was very not a BMW this week. I had the Hyundai Kona Limited all-wheel drive, which I'll tell you, when you go from the BMW to the Kona, you're like, whoa. Like the power difference is so dramatic. But it's also, the price is considerably less. You could buy, so I had the Limited. You could buy 4 of these, if I just
a
roughly,
fleet.
like
could-
4.
You could have them, and you have a sled behind it, like
Get
sled
it different colors. You could pick an orange one to drive in the fall, get a red one for Christmas, get I don't know, a yellow one for summer. I don't know, but it's considerably cheaper. So SE, SEL Convenience Limited, you're going from 24,550 for the base up to 33,600 for the limited. That is the maximum with all-wheel drive, 33,600. You want to take a guess?
If you got to buy a quote-unquote SUV,
Right.
that's the sort of thing you should be buying.
This is what you should be doing. This is a reasonable car to buy. So what do you think the destination is on this one, guys? It's your turn, Robbie.
Ooh,
See if you get it.
13. I think I said that last time too.
$14.95.
So Robbie wins just barely because it's $13.95. He wins by what, $5? So Robbie wins $13.95. So they consider this, I guess, a subcompact technically. It's got 25.5 cubic feet behind the second row, 63.7 behind the first row. So when you think about that, that's actually more than the wagon, the BMW wagon we were talking about. So this is a small affordable car that gives you more cargo room. So you don't need to have the wagon. Like, wagons are great, but you can do with this and save yourself a chunk of change. It does not have the power. It has a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder turbo, 8-speed auto for 190 horsepower with 195 pound-feet of torque. That is not a spirited drive. Let's put it that way. But see, I'm not anti low power cars as long as they're not so low that you hit the gas pedal and you think, oh no, my life is about to end because I'm not merging.
Your foot
Yeah.
out.
Can you
comfortably
merge onto a highway?
Exactly. That's what you need. That's really realistically what all of us need. Enough to merge into highway traffic without feeling like the car behind us is going to slam on the horn, rear end us, kill us. And this has enough power to do that. It actually is pretty robust when it accelerates. It is good acceleration. It's noisy, which isn't the transmission or the engine per se. I don't think there's a lot of sound deadening between the cabin and the engine compartment. One of the things that when you get a less expensive car, those little bits and pieces that make your interior sound really quiet, that's where they can save a little bit. So it is a little on the noisy side, but again, only when you're doing that highway merge. The rest of the time, it's fine. It's not disturbing. You hear it when it accelerates. It doesn't have the beautiful sound of the BMW, but it's not horrible. The only time you really notice it is when you're really heavy on that gas, trying to merge into highway traffic.
And just turn up the stereo. That's all.
Turn up the stereo. Don't worry about it. So I like this, and I think it looks good. It's a good looking car. I had it. What did they call this? It's this bright red. Oh my! I just looked at the Monroney that apparently was. It's completely out of focus when they took the picture. So I can't read. I'm looking at the official Monroney in the car. I had it. I looked up the figures.
Do they not understand how PDFs work?
It's literally just a piece of plastic with blur all over it. I just now glanced at it because I had written everything down looking it up. Oh my gosh. So it's red. I have no idea. What is
I'll look it up. You keep talking.
Red, I can't tell. But it's a beautiful car. It actually looks really good. And I enjoy driving it. I drove it back and forth to Boston a couple of times. The suspension system was even good. That's the other thing that sometimes when you get a more affordable car, they can feel a little rough. And if you hit, it's one thing if you're on pebble pavement or say you hit a seam in construction between two different kinds of pavement, but sometimes you hit those potholes and they literally jar you from your soul. This is actually pretty good. It's a nice, smooth vehicle. The Kona it's an affordable subcompact SUV. I'd call it a crossover. It's an affordable crossover. It's great for a couple or for somebody who's single. For a family, it's going to get a little tight in the back seat as your kids get older. But you can put a couple car seats back there when they're little, and it has really good cargo room. So overall, I like the Kona. I've liked it since it came out. I think the Kona is a decent little car, and I would recommend it to people, but not somebody who has a big family or is like craving huge power, because you're not going to get that in this. But you are going to get affordable and fuel efficient, and Hyundai is a really good, reliable car. So overall, I like the Kona, and you can afford it. Ultimate red metallic. It's really good looking. And you probably won't have $1,000 a month car payment on the Kona. I'm just guessing.
I would hope not. I mean, well, maybe if you got like a 12-month loan.
12-month loan?
Yeah.
When you think about that, though, if you buy something where you're paying $1,000 a month for 5, 6, 7 years, you pay that same money on a tiny little affordable thing like this. You have that sucker paid off in like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. It would be your car in no time. You wouldn't be upside down for very long at all.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest car payment I've ever had was actually when we bought the Civic. It coincided with when we were selling back our Jetta TDI back to Volkswagen. And so, we had a little bit of a gap in between when we got the check from Volkswagen and when we had to buy the Civic. We had, because we needed a car, we bought the Civic. It was a few weeks before we got the check from Volkswagen. And so, as a result, I got a loan. We just did it. It was at the time, it was like a 3-year, like 0.5% interest loan. And, ended up paying that off. But, that car payment was like $500 and something a month.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most I've ever paid is like $350,
I feel like-
$356, $3 something. And that was, but I've never purchased a new car. We've leased new cars. But like purchasing a car, I think that was the BRZ.
I think the most, I feel it was in the 300s somewhere. It's been a little while, but I think the most I've had on a car that I've purchased outright, that was financed, was a $300, 3 something, I think, at one point, which is reasonable. I still remember the dollar amount for my very first car loan because it was the first monthly payment I ever had to pay every month. It was $192.91. I still remember that.
That's amazing.
Which no one can even conceive of a car payment for $192.91 because A, cars are expensive, and B, people are paying $1,000 for a car loan because they're making foolish choices, people.
Yeah.
My 90 Honda Civic, when I bought it used. It was $152 a month. I remember that.
$152. Look at that.
And I was a busser, and then I was a waiter. So like my checks just went to the bank, and I never used them because I always just had cash because, tips. And, I lived at home, so I wasn't like, I had like real bills. So, yeah, I love that car. That was a great car.
All right.
So there you go. Buy yourself one fancy BMW or 4 Hyundai Konas, one for every season. Take your pick.
These are the cars for our seasons.
Or if you have a wife and 2 teenage kids, one for each member of the family.
Yeah,
everybody has a
no
car for the
arguments.
same price. Yeah, and there's no arguing.
Everybody gets the
has
exact
their
same
own car, right? Perfect. That's
the only potential for arguments is if you got like 4 different colors, and then people were fighting.
I
over
say
which
everybody
color.
picks their color. You pick
There
your
you go.
color when they buy it.
There you
so
go.
you can't complain. You always drive the red, and mom always drives the white, or whatever.
So I'll take the Soltronic Orange Pearl.
I want the red.
Okay.
What color you getting, Robbie?
You want Neoteric Yellow or Mirage Green or Cyber Gray
Hold
Metallic?
on. Oh, I was just looking at the colors.
Mirage
Do they have
green.
that blue?
No, they don't
I'll
have
take
that
that
blue
orange.
anymore. That blue they had on the first gen Kona was really good.
Yeah, we had the blue. We drove like over an hour to get that blue. Oh, here we go. Here's the colors. I just get the bright green one or the orange one. The lime. I'll get the lime green.
The Neoteric
Said-
Yellow.
It has
Yeah.
a cool color, Neoteric.
All right. Okay. Robbie, where have you been driving?
So I drove the sedan version of the Mercedes-AMG E53 hybrid. It's actually a plug-in hybrid. Mercedes just calls it a hybrid, but it's a plug-in hybrid. And it's got a little plug and everything. You plug it in, and you get a pretty nice 42 miles of range, which is more than enough for your average, commute, according to the Department of Transportation, which is, I think it was 36 or 37 last I checked. And this actually does really well on the twisties. I took it. That's what I went and drove it. I didn't have it for very long. I had it for like 2 or 3 days. And in those 2 or 3 days, I was like, oh, this is the plug-in hybrid you get when you're A, rich, and B, you like fun. Most plug-in hybrids are, they're SUVs, they're crossovers, they're, everything. Most everything is SUV or crossover. So this is the sedan. So it has a 3-liter inline 6 with a turbo. It's got 577 horsepower, which is a lot. 553 pounds of torque. It's AMG, so it's got like the ride control suspension. It's got the 9-speed, their speed shift automatic. It's got rear axle steering. It's got all the things. So you're not just sort of like, oh, it's kind of cool. No, it's really cool. It starts at $88,000, but of course the one I had, $128,164, which is I'm sure that's at least $1,000. You guys want to check? I'm looking at it. You want to guess the destination?
$1,300.
I was gonna say $1,695.
It's at $1,150.
Oh wow! I went totally the wrong way.
Remember the performance cars.
Yeah,
they don't get you. Like they watch everyone else move up and they're like, yeah, sure, we can throw a couple $100 on there and move it up. But the reality is they sort of like, you're buying a really expensive car, and they're like, we're gonna what was it? The multi-contour seating package was $3,000.
Oh,
wow!
Was it worth it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I didn't even realize that was that much. But like, the AMG Edition 1, so it was an Edition 1, so it had like the orange, like, and the orange like seats, the orange lettering, the orange trim, yellow, the yellow seat belt, and then a bunch of other junk. $25,850 for that. But that's the one package. You don't have to get all that. You could just get this car and be fine. It's very comfortable. It did have the passenger side screen. I never had a passenger in the car, so it just sat there with the AMG logo on it the whole time. I still don't think the passenger side screen is something that's going to stick around for too much longer, unless we get autonomous cars, which is still very, 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 very far off from now. Because I think most people look at it and they're like, oh, cool, I can watch a video on this. And then or I could just look my phone and I can use because they have one at the time. The last time I used it was in, I don't know, Germany probably. While someone else was driving, I watched something. There was like one streaming service that was like, it was kind of a catch-all for other streaming services. It was weird. Or I can just get my phone. I can I want to watch Netflix. I want to watch Disney Plus. Oh, I want to watch, HBO Max now. It's whatever it's called. Hulu. I can, whatever you already have a thing to, you can just watch on your phone or your iPad. So yeah, I'm still not 100% sure that's a thing people want, because every time I show it to people, they're like, oh, that's cool. And then they pick their phones. No, it was very nice. It's very Mercedes. It's got it. It had the landscape version of the Mercedes infotainment system.
The hyperscreen?
Well, yeah, the hyperscreen, but it's more the software. What do they call it?
The zero layer?
Zero layer, which I'm a big fan of. I actually really like zero layer because it's just a giant map and then like little widgets for things that you want to do. That's it.
Yeah,
it's so like really easy to use.
You don't have to do much tapping around. You can just glance over, see what you need.
Yeah, it's very I think they did a really good job with zero layer. It's because mostly you just want to, where am I going? What am I doing? Giant map and then little widgets. Like, oh, I want to go forward on my music. Oh, I need to click this. Oh, I need to click. It's very, I really enjoy the zero layer. So you're getting that, which is nice. And, overall it was, a really good car. Again, 42 miles of EV, electric only driving. What's interesting is that you're driving in EV mode, you can feel there's like a little, like almost they set it up so it feels like there's a notch as you're using the accelerator. And then right when you get to a point, and if you go past the point, then it's like, well, dude, you're trying to go too fast. So then it kicks on the motor. So it gives you like this little notch to be like, okay, you can stay in EV mode as long as you don't like lose your mind and try to overtake someone else already doing like 90.
Yeah.
Because when you want to do that, like, all right, here you go. So I had a chance. I drove it into the city, and then I drove it on back roads, and that's really it. It was they loaned it to me so I could go to a tennis game and meet Roger Federer. Federer. So I met him. He's very nice. And not just nice to me, like you watch him afterwards, because some people are very nice to you because you interview them. But like he was like picking, someone had left her sunglasses. He's like, he ran back, grabbed his sunglasses. He's like, whose are these? Just a very delightful person. I don't know anything about tennis. I got to watch a tennis match, which was really fun. Don't know anything about it. Don't know what's going on. I understand the scoring because it's not that difficult to sort of wrap your head around. It wasn't cricket. So anyway, they gave me that, and then I went and looked at their giant Mercedes van, their Vision van. That is, they don't call it a van; it's an MPV. They're pulling the same thing as Kia, where they like, hey, look at this really cool minivan. Oh, cool! Don't say minivan, for the love of God, please don't say minivan.
That'll just kill any potential it has in the market.
Please don't say minivan. Yeah, it's an MPV because America. And if you go to Japan or even Korea and even some places in Europe, you'll get like, if you call in like a really nice taxi, it's a minivan.
Yeah.
And when we went on vacation, we decided, instead of taking the train back to the airport, we decided to go back in style. So we like rent. We wanted a nice car to go back, and with like recite minivan. It's a minivan. It's wonderful. Easy to get in, easy to get out. Tons of room.
This is true.
Yeah, Mercedes has theirs. They have their new upcoming, or their new their platform they're going to be building it on. This vehicle doesn't really replace the Metris, because the Metris is sort of like a different beast, to be honest. Metris is more of a sort of a utility type van. And it definitely won't do anything to displace the Sprinter, because that is a cash cow for Mercedes because of all the overlanders and all the RV that's really, that the Sprinter's really been embraced by those van life people. Like there's one on my street. They're everywhere. And the Northern California is silly with Sprinters that have like things attached to them.
Yeah, one of my neighbors has an RV that's based on a Sprinter chassis.
Yeah, so it's not. But so this is more. They're going for a more upscale luxury vehicle for this vehicle. Their MPV Vision is their word for concept. I once had someone at Mercedes tell me, I'm like, the concept. They're like, no, it's not a concept. It's a vision. I'm like, yeah, but it's a concept. It's still. I mean, you have a fancy word for it.
It's still a concept.
It's like it's still a concept. It's like when automakers are like, I don't use most of the time I don't use their fancy name for like, for ADAS, whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
Because it confuses people. They just want to know, does it have adaptive cruise control? Yes. They don't need to know that it's called some weird name. They just know it has adaptive cruise control, because when you give them the weird name, it just confuses them. That's no point. Well, that's not helpful.
I mean, that is exactly the point, though. They want consumers to be confused. They want consumers to think that they have something unique that is different from what every other automaker is selling.
Yeah. It's a radar and it's a radar that says that's this far away. All right, put the brake on. Oh, no, put the accelerator on. No, put the brake. No, the accelerator. And then just how well you've tuned all of that.
Yeah.
I really like this vehicle. I didn't know what I was going to get. I was like, Nicole. It was like, what's it like to be Nicole for once? And a car just appeared. I drove it to. It was unfortunate because that weekend I really didn't have time to drive a car, so I really didn't get to do as much as I would like to with a vehicle. But what I did get, I was very impressed. And if I were rich, I'd probably I would try out the wagon version of this. But I'm not rich, so I have my BRZ and my Ioniq 5.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep,
Correct.
There's nothing wrong with that. My neighbor does Turo, and he has a bunch of vehicles, and he just got a Santa Cruz. So I'm just like, trying to get rid of my cars and Turo his Santa Cruz all the time.
There you go. Problem solved.
All right. Anything else on the E53?
It was just gray. That was kind of disappointing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is all too common with cars from German brands.
Yeah. The battery capacity was 28.6 kilowatt hours. It's a pretty big battery. And yet it handled really well. It still felt a little heavy, but it's an AMG, so they're going to It's like Porsche with the Taycan. They're gonna make sure they're gonna do as much chassis and suspension control as possible to make it feel like that battery doesn't exist. I mean, you can only do so much because physics and whatnot, but no, they did a really, really good job. I would like to have driven this back to back with that BMW that Nicole got. So next time, Nicole and I should meet in the middle,
Yes.
which I'm assuming is like
Right.
Colorado.
I feel like maybe. How long
Maybe
would it take you to
Kansas?
drive to Colorado? How long would that take?
I drove
About
to
24 hours.
Salt Lake City was.
If you went all the way straight
16?
through.
Yeah.
I feel like Colorado. Well, maybe Colorado.
I could have made it to Kansas City in 24 hours from Tehachapi, but we had a snowstorm, so probably like 20-something hours.
Wait, I'm looking. I feel like that. What's the midpoint? Oh my gosh. The approximate midpoint between New Hampshire and San Francisco is near the city of Denver, Colorado. There you go.
Boom! Oh, we can go see the TFL guy. Well, they live in
go.
Boulder.
Yeah, but that's only
That's
40
close
minutes
enough.
away.
Yeah. that's
Wow,
not so
there
far.
you go.
So it's 28-hour drive from Nashua to Denver.
Sure, let's just plan this, Robbie.
We're
Done
all
deal.
good. Hold on, I'm looking up Denver now. Maps.
That really is the halfway point between
Directions.
us. Wow. Somehow I thought it was closer to me. I wanted you to be closer to Colorado, I guess.
Yeah, 17 hours to Denver. No, that's not too bad.
But you got to drive through all the mountains.
Yeah, I know. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
just drive on through the
that's
Midwest. Woohoo.
I don't think people realize like half of California is just mountains. Everyone's like, oh, it's like beaches and stuff. Like, no, it's a lot of really big mountains.
Mountains,
The
mountains
beaches
everywhere.
are just along the edge where the
Yeah,
water
they're just along the edge. Yeah, no, it's a lot of mountains, a big swath of farmland, and then desert,
Yeah,
which is also like
And desert.
and parts of the desert mountains.
the drive for Nicole would be mind-numbingly boring most of the way.
So boring.
Oh no,
Oh.
you got to go to Nebraska.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I may.
And Iowa,
I take it
and
all back.
Illinois, Southern Illinois.
God.
Oh, that's
This is going to be the worst drive ever.
I've driven cross country a couple times, and I absolutely positively hate Nebraska. I don't know much. I don't
This
think I've
should
been
tell you
anywhere.
something. I don't remember it, and I've been through it. So
Like you can see the one tree the entire time. It's so flat and boring. Because as a human, you have these goals. So you're like, oh, we're in the next state, yay! Oh, we're in the
Right,
next state,
right.
yay! Nebraska just goes on and on and on.
do I
and
have
it's
to drive through
flat.
Wyoming on this trip?
No, that's west of you.
Okay, I
Yeah,
like
you're
Wyoming.
good. Yeah,
Wyoming.
Wyoming's-
Everything
I get
in
all the
Wyoming
cool
looks,
stuff. I
Yeah,
get
everything
to
in
fly-
Wyoming looks like a cowboy movie. It's super cool.
You could turn north from Denver and drive into Wyoming and then meet there.
Because I drive through Wyoming to get there. If I'm taking.
Well, maybe
the,
could we meet in
the
Wyoming
80.
instead? But Denver's nice. I mean, one's not that far.
Oh, everything on my whole drive is great. I drove this to Salt Lake City, this route, like a year ago for a gig in a van. It was like a transit van, and it was beautiful. It's like it's
Yeah, you
it's,
get the
it's
good part.
desert and mountains, and it's Salt Lake, in Utah. And after that, I get to drive through Wyoming and then down to Denver.
I like
I get a
Wyoming. I
great
thought it was really
drive.
pretty.
You get Nebraska, and no, I know. By the way, I'm not trying to. I don't know much about Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska is probably a wonderful place. I know people who live there who really liked it.
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
love
saying,
you if
it's
you live in
very
Nebraska.
boring to
It's-
drive to the.
It's not the best drive. Yeah.
I'll be driving across Nebraska in December for Operation Frodo.
Oh, that's right.
So we're
When,
driving.
so that's when is that? The
It's like
third
the
week in
of
December
the
this year.
12th, 13th, something
Yeah.
like 13th.
So if anybody,
14th.
I don't. Operation Frodo is coming up again. This is the third year.
Fourth.
Fourth year they've done it, where
Yeah.
they take rescue dogs that were.
We rescue a couple of dozen beagles from
Yeah.
Omaha, and drive across Nebraska to Denver, and then from Denver to Salt Lake City, and then Salt Lake City to Boise, and then Boise to Portland.
And they do all this because there's where the dogs are, there's nobody who wants to adopt them. But where the dogs are going, there are people who want to adopt them. So they save dogs. Yesterday, last time they did it, there was a
last year we had
pregnant
23
pupper.
dogs, 23
Yeah.
beagles.
And journalists volunteer and OEMs volunteer support with their vehicles.
Yep.
And it's a pretty cool thing. It's a cool thing that the people that do it, just Nick Miles started it.
Yeah,
Who's
and
another
last
journalist.
year Paul Eisenstein drove back from he fell in love with one of the dogs and drove back from Salt Lake City back to Detroit over 2 days with Melvin, and then turned around, flew back to Kansas City, I think, to meet up with one of the people from the rescue organization in Omaha who brought another dog, because Melvin was originally slated to go to a family in Portland. And Paul fell in love with Melvin, and then Melvin's brother was still back in Omaha. And so the family in Portland agreed to take Fred, who was Melvin's brother. And so they arranged to drive Fred from Omaha to Kansas City, where Paul met up with them, and then flew from Kansas City to Portland with Fred and brought Fred to that family in Portland.
So warm, fuzzy stories every year about people just saving dogs because they can.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We'll talk more about Operation Frodo as we get closer to it. But anything else on the Mercedes, or are you done?
Oh no, I'm done.
Okay.
Now that we've totally gone off track on what we do on this podcast today. I'm gone for 2 weeks and everything gets broken when I get back.
Chaos.
Sorry, everyone.
All right. Well, I also had a couple of vehicles. I had the Lexus LX700h Overtrail, which is, a lot of fans of the Toyota Land Cruiser were not thrilled when Toyota introduced the new Land Cruiser here, because there's actually several different variations of Land Cruiser that Toyota builds. It's different series. And the vehicle that we get here that's badged as a Land Cruiser and also as the Lexus GX is based on the Land Cruiser 250. But the top, the really hardcore Land Cruiser is the Land Cruiser 300 series. And the only variant that we have of that is the Lexus LX. So this is the really hardcore Land Cruiser. This year, or this generation, it's equipped with they all come with the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 that is also in various other Toyota trucks and SUVs. And you can get it as the LX600 with just the V6, the twin turbo V6, or you can get it as the LX700H, which adds the hybrid system to it. And so I had the 700H. This is a serious off-road capable vehicle for the most part. It has 3 locking differentials, front, center, and rear locking differentials. It's got Toyo all-terrain tires. It's got all the goodies. The only downside to the LX700H from an off-roading perspective is, it has the Lexus front end to it, which is, it's got kind of a deep front fascia. It's got the big spindle grille. So the front approach angles are not ideal. Because that grill stretches down quite a ways. I mean, this is a massive grill on this thing. The one I had was in this tan color. It has air spring suspension on it, so it's got some serious ground clearance capabilities. I didn't do any off-roading with it while I had it, but I did back in May when we went to Plano for Toyota Palooza. I did drive the 700H on the off-road course they had there at Eagle Crest Raceway, and this is a very, very capable vehicle. It's a 3-row, although the 3rd row is fairly tight. It's more for younger people, or those that are not especially tall. And with the hybrid, like in the 4Runner and the Sequoia and some of the other hybrid SUVs that Toyota has, the battery takes up, it sits in the rear cargo area, and so it's about 4 or 5 inches tall. So with the 3rd row in place, you don't have a lot of depth behind the 3rd row seat between the 3rd row and the tailgate. And then with the battery, it also takes up some vertical space as well. So there's not a whole lot of cargo space if you're using the 3rd row. If you just fold down the 3rd row, it's a lot better. You still have a fairly tall deck because it's above the battery, but there's kind of a shelf there, and then when you fold down the rear seats, it gives you a flat surface there. So we took it to take Patty out to the lake one last time for the season to go do a little paddle boarding.
Last time at the lake.
Nice.
Fit the paddle board in there and everything, and so that all worked out nicely. This has the latest generation Toyota Lexus multimedia system, so it's a pretty decent infotainment system. There's all the luxury goodies in here. There is also a touchscreen in the center console. So you've got the infotainment screen at the top, then there's another touchscreen below that controls some of the four-wheel drive off-road stuff and some of the climate control stuff. But there's also lots of buttons. So you got physical controls for a lot of stuff. I actually use this thing to drive to South Bend, Indiana, which is about 2 hours and 45 minutes away from me. And then from there back to Elkhart, because I visited Thor Industries, which I'll talk more about later. This is not despite being a hybrid, it's not a particularly fuel-efficient vehicle.
That's the thing with the big Toyota SUVs. Like, it's a hybrid, and you're like, we saved 0.5 mile per gallon.
Yeah. It's still a giant car that uses lots of gas.
Yeah. So this thing only averaged about 17.5 miles per gallon.
Oof.
You okay, Robbie?
Robbie's completely done. He's Robbie, come back to us.
What was it if it didn't have the hybrid? Was it?
I think it's about the same. So,
so you're losing space for
these rear-wheel drive, four-wheel drive hybrid systems that Toyota does for Toyota and Lexus brands. It's really more about the performance than it is about fuel economy.
Yeah, you get that long torque. And
yeah.
blah, blah,
So
blah.
with just the V6, you get 409 horsepower, 479 foot-pounds of torque. With the hybrid, you get 457 and 583 foot-pounds of torque. So it's not particularly fuel efficient, as I said, because this is a large SUV with a lot of frontal area, knobby off-road tires. And I also found that after several hours in the driver's seat's not that comfortable.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that's a bummer.
Yeah, not the greatest seats in the world.
It's funny because the Toyota, the Land Cruiser, I drove that thing to LA and back. It's very comfortable. So that's just body type, people.
Yeah. I mean,
this is the luxury version, so who knows?
Yeah, there are different seats in this one. It does have massaging, which helped a little bit, but yeah, it was a little tiresome after a few hours behind the wheel.
Oh, that sucks.
But it's a pleasant enough environment. It's got some nice wood trim on the center console. Got lots of leather. It's overall comfortable, but just the seats not great. And it's also it's expensive. Let me find where that. Okay, so this one came to a grand total of $118,510. And the only two options on it were the premium paint. The color, by the way, is called Earth, which is sort of a tan color. That was $500, and then $2,660 for the Mark Levinson premium audio system. So $118,510. Guesses on the destination charge?
$1,295.
That's $1,195.
Nicole gets it. It was $1,350.
Woohoo!
Good job.
We're up by just $55.
Gummy.
Yeah, so it's actually officially rated at 20 miles per gallon combined, 19 city, 22 highway. But over the last 3-ish years or so that they've been offering this hybrid system in the Tundra, the Sequoia, this thing, the Tacoma, I have never once gotten one of these to hit the EPA-rated fuel economy. They're typically about 17-ish to 18.5 is what I usually get. And, this was mostly highway cruising, and it got 17.5. So, there's that. But lots of ADAS features on there. One feature I really do like that Toyota does on a bunch of their vehicles now is they have everybody's got the rear cross traffic alert. So using the rear corner radar sensors for the to warn you when you're backing out of a parking space in a parking lot if there's anybody coming. But Toyota also has their front cross traffic alert, which is really handy to alert you when there's traffic coming from either side in the front. And then all the other usual stuff, adaptive cruise control. It's got their traffic jam assist system, which is a hands-free system that operates at up to 20 miles an hour. So if you're stuck in stop and go traffic, like when I was in a couple of construction zones, you can take your hands off the wheel for a while until you get to 20 miles an hour, and then you got to put your hands back on the wheel. But other than that, it's if you're looking for something with hardcore off-road capabilities, as long as it doesn't require a really good approach angle, then Lexus has got you covered with the LX700h.
There you go.
I'm looking at the, let's see,
What are you looking at?
2025 Land Rover mild hybrid, the 90. It gets 19 combined.
For the Defender?
Yeah. And that starts at like 114. This is the 90. This because I don't care about other people, so I don't care about backdoors.
Backdoors.
Backdoors. I mean, the dog.
Yeah,
if
they'd
the
be
dogs
handy
can
for
get
your
into
dogs, though.
they can get into the back,
Okay.
or they'll just jump into the. I mean, the little one. She's like, as soon as you put in the back seat, she jumps over the little barrier into the front seat, sits there and looks at you. And I'm like, that's not where you're supposed to be. She's like, huh?
So the other vehicle I had was the 2026 Ram 2500 Black Express crew cab 4x4 with the Cummins diesel engine.
That's a
Oh
lot.
my goodness.
So, this is, the latest generation of Ram's heavy-duty pickup. And the Black Express is a new trim for model year 2026.
Is this just midnight?
Kind of, yeah. So it's basically, this is essentially a tradesman, which is the base work truck version of the Ram 2500 with black wheels, a body color painted bumper, black grille, and a few other trim bits. But for the most part, it's basically the work truck, which means it's got cloth seats. The front seat is a bench seat. So you got 6 passenger seating. In these full-size crew cab trucks, the back seat is like limousine levels of space and comfort in terms of leg room. You can really stretch out back there. The heavy duties have, even with the crew cab, have a longer bed than the light duty trucks. So Ram 1500 or any other light duty full-size crew cab typically has about a 5.5 foot bed. This is a 6 foot 4 inch bed. Which turned out to be very useful when I went to go pick up some bales of straw. I was able to fit 4 bales of straw in there with the tailgate closed. Worked perfectly. Because, 4 bales of straw, 100 pounds, 150 pounds maybe, which, really took a very slight nibble out of the total payload capacity of over 3,000 pounds in this truck.
You could have got a bunch of straw and then like a steer.
Yeah, exactly. Or I could have parked put my Miata in the back.
Yeah, just drop it on there.
Yeah. This one, with the Cummins diesel, the latest generation of the 6.7 liter Cummins 6-cylinder inline 6 diesel, it has 430 horsepower and 1,075 foot-pounds of torque at 1,800 RPM. So, if you perhaps, need to move your house off its foundation, just chain it up to this thing, you got it covered.
You're all
Bam,
good.
done.
Yeah.
Take that home.
And, this also, has about the frontal area of a typical house. So, this is a big honking truck, and especially because it's a 4-wheel drive. The heavy duties have solid front and rear axles. So these things, even though this one did not have locking front or rear differentials, It was part-time 4-wheel drive. It had 2 range transfer cases. It's got 4-wheel drive high, 4-wheel drive low. You definitely don't want to drive on dry pavement in 4-wheel drive in this thing, because when you turn, you will hear the tires scrubbing. But if you need to work on a farm or anything like that, you just put it in 4-wheel drive. You're good to go. It's got all-terrain tires on it, and despite the curb weight of this truck being 7,728 pounds. And like I said, frontal area, basically the size of a house. It got better fuel economy than that Lexus hybrid. It got about 18.5 miles per gallon.
That's a diesel. Like it gets a little bit of a pass, but I feel like with the diesel, it should have been like 22.
Yeah, well,
at least.
If I'd been towing, 20,000 pounds, it probably would have got that. But that was also on my combined loop, which is a mix of city, highway, urban, suburban, rural roads,
party roads.
If it was just driving on the highway, I was definitely seeing over 20 just driving on the highway to Detroit and back a couple of times.
Cool.
Being as large a truck as it is, can be challenging sometimes when you're in tight spots. Parking it can be a bit of a pain in the neck, but it did have the towing package with the digital camera mirror, which is very handy, so you can actually see what's behind you. The seats, even though these were cloth bench seats, actually more comfortable than the ones in the Lexus.
But you got to work. You want to be comfy.
Yeah.
You want to make sure people are comfortable.
Yeah.
No nonsense comfort. That's all you need.
That's right. And nothing fancy. Just the only adjustments were front, sliding front and back, and the recline for the seat back, and that's it. Everything else was fixed in place. No massaging, but the seats were comfy. And even without a load in this thing, with the heavy duty truck, it was still had pretty good ride quality on the highway. And in the city. So, aside from its enormous size, it's actually quite pleasant to drive.
There you go.
Yeah. So let's see. For pricing, where'd that tab go? So grand total price was $71,175. Now, for the destination charge, you get to pick. Do you want the destination charge as it was last week when I looked it up, or as it is today?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I want it today.
Let's go with today.
So 17,000.
No.
1,700. How about that?
1,800.
No, it's $2,595.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh!
wow.
So-
I thought we would be like comically high.
Wow.
Well, remember,
I'm like 18. I'm not going to get it.
when we were talking about the Expedition a couple of weeks ago that Nicole was driving, that one, they had raised the destination charge on that, because I think on your Monroney it said $2,195, and they raised it to they had, since at some point in the last month or two, they had raised it to $2,595, and GM had done the same thing when I looked it up. Stellantis at the time was still, this, like, as of a week ago, Stellantis was still at $2,195. So this, just in the last 7 days, they've raised it to $2,595. So it's now matching everybody else. So $2,600 for destination.
Oof.
Yeah.
And again, they're like, we're not raising prices because we're built in America. Terrorist murder. It doesn't. It's got to be great. And then you're like, no, you are raising prices. You're just doing it a very sneaky way.
In a sneaky way.
Don't do the sneaky way.
So, you can get the Black Express with the 6.4 liter gas Hemi, and that's only $55,000. The Cummins is a $13,500 option.
Yeah, but you get to wear a Cummins T-shirt if you have that.
Yeah, and it's a very refined engine. I mean, it doesn't have nearly as much clatter as the old Cummins diesels, 20 years ago. So it's quite a pleasant truck to drive. And one thing, kind of surprising, at $71,000, doesn't even have a bedliner in it.
Gosh.
Yeah. Like that's, I don't even know why bedliners are optional anymore.
I know. Fortunately, the only thing I was hauling around was straw, so it wasn't a big deal. But
Yeah.
Wasn't actually, you didn't need the liner for that necessarily, but
And also, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like, oh no, I scratched the inside of the bed.
yeah.
It's just they're nice because it gives you a little bit of traction when you're in the bed and you're moving things around. Like I've slept on enough lined beds to like be like, man, it'd be nice if there was some traction back.
Well, the other thing is, if it's not a Ford, which has an aluminum bed, the Rams and GM and Toyota trucks still have steel beds. So if you scratch through the paint, then it is more likely to rust. So having the bed liner is handy for that, and avoiding that.
So no rust, no slipping and falling.
Yeah.
On whatever random thing you're carrying in the back of the bed.
All right, let's move on. So the reason why I went to Indiana, and not a place I typically go except passing through on the way to Chicago, is I visited Thor Industries. They invited me to come down for their annual open house, which is basically it's a dealer show. So Thor Industries, if you're not familiar with them, and chances are you probably aren't, is the biggest manufacturer of RVs, I think, in the world. They own, I think, something like 15 different brands. When they started off in 1980, they bought Airstream, so they own Airstream, and they own Highland and a whole bunch of others. One of their brands is called Entegra Coach, and so the reason why Thor invited me down was to check out the new Entegra Coach Embark. So I have never driven an RV before. In fact, it's been decades since I've even been in a motorhome. The last time I think was when I was in high school. A friend of mine, his family had an old Winnebago, so I think we went somewhere a couple times in that thing. But so it's been decades since I've been in an RV, and like I said, never ever driven one. And what's special about the Embark is it's an extended range EV. Back about 2020, Thor started looking at doing an electric motorhome. And, they did a bunch of research and stuff and ultimately came to the conclusion that for the way people are going to use RVs, a pure battery electric is probably not the right solution right now. Because, at most they could get, 250, 300 miles out of it. And then, you got to stop charge for a couple of hours. And, RV owners
are... And a very, very large RV, by the way.
Yeah. So what they ended up doing was partnering with a company called Harbinger. Harbinger first came out of stealth mode in 2022. At the Detroit Auto Show, they showed off their medium-duty electric chassis for like larger delivery vehicles and things like that. And they decided to partner up with Harbinger and adapt their electric truck chassis as an EREV. So they added a little 1.4 liter gas engine from a company in Germany called G-Tech, and a 45 kilowatt generator. And this thing sits way out in the back of the RV. So when it's running, you barely even hear it. When I drove it around, I drove it for about a half hour, 40 minutes, and it was just running on electricity. And, aside from the usual rattles of a prototype vehicle, it was really, really quiet. This thing was surprisingly pleasant to drive. Like I said, aside from being very large, this is about a 30-foot motorhome on a 202-inch wheelbase. It sleeps four very comfortably. It's got a big bedroom in the back, and then got up front. There's some chairs that you can convert in, or like sofa that you can convert into a bed, and there's a really nice kitchen and a shower in this thing. This thing would be a great way to do a road trip. And actually, we were talking to Thor. Perhaps next year might end up doing a road trip up the California coast with one of these things.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Which would be interesting. So
Yeah.
it's got 140 kilowatt hour battery. There's the range extender in the back gives it a total range. On electricity alone, it'll go about 105 miles. And then with the range extender, it'll go about 450 miles.
Cool.
And what Thor has found is from their research, most motorhome owners are driving about 400 or 500 miles a day. So that's plenty, to get them, to where they're going to, stop, and then you can plug it in. It's got a CCS port on it right now. They're looking at converting that to an AX port for the production models, for the full production models. There's output power from this thing, so you can power all kinds of stuff. You get several kilowatts of output power. And then, you can also plug it in, in an RV camp, use the shore power to plug it in to charge it. And this thing was really nice to drive, like I said, except for, the size, and very quiet, which, I said, I told him, since I've never driven an RV before, would it be possible to get into another one with an internal combustion engine just for comparison? So this is what's known as a Class A motorhome, so it's a dedicated RV. So they pulled out one of their other Class A RVs, similar size, that's built on a Ford chassis, a Ford F53 chassis, which has the 7.3 liter gas V8 in there. And the gas V8 is mounted up front, and man, was that sucker loud. It was not nearly as quick to accelerate as the Embark. And when you're accelerating, oh boy, do you know it's accelerating.
It's a party in the engine bay.
After spending a few minutes, about 15, 20 minutes driving that one, I'm not sure I would want to be driving that thing for several hundred miles at a stretch across country.
Yeah.
But the Embark, that one I could definitely see spending time in. Right now, they've got the first one built. They're in the process of assembling the second one, and the plan is that this is going to, in the first part of 2026, they're going to have about a dozen of these that they're going to put into a rental fleet, an RV rental fleet, to gain more customer experience with it, get feedback before they start volume production later in 2026. So they're going to have about a dozen of these in a rental fleet in California, starting early part of 2026. And
that's where I live.
Yeah. So maybe we can get you into one too.
There you go.
Driving around.
Yeah.
Giant RV.
The typical price for a Class A motorhome of this size, with gas engine, depending on the options and features you get, is anywhere from $250,000 to $400,000. And this one, the Embark, is going to start about $300,000, so about $50,000 more.
Wow,
but
it's a lot.
Yeah, but
I mean, the 250 is a lot too. So there's,
Yeah.
this is all like made up
these things are
money
not
in
cheap.
my brain.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, you can basically live in these things.
It's a house on wheels.
Yeah, it is, and hence the name motorhome.
Mm-hmm.
Home.
With these motorhomes, though, I mean, these things use a lot of gas. These things get about 6-7 miles per gallon. So if you're driving 400 or 500 miles a day in these things, you're going to be spending a lot of money on gas.
Yeah.
And your fuel bills with the EREV version are going to be a tiny fraction of what you're going to pay for a gas truck,
No,
a
that's
gas
true.
motorhome. And it's going to be a much more pleasant ride.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're already spending 250.
Well,
To drive in the right lane. And I did a bunch of Airstream reviews years ago. My wife's like, oh, maybe we should get an Airstream. And if you do like the sort of the price comparison, like Airstream versus just staying in a nice hotel, you're like, oh, we could just stay in a nice hotel.
Yeah.
It's cheaper. Because unless you use the Airstream like every single weekend, it didn't make sense financially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While I was waiting for my turn to go drive the Embark, I wandered around the open house area to check out some of the other stuff from the various other brands that Thor has. And I walked into this Tiffin Zephyr, which is their top of the line motorhome. This is one of those big luxury coaches. It's like a big bus. And you walk in, this thing's got tile floors and, an induction stove and all kinds of other stuff. These things start at $700,000. And, when I was looking around online, you can find a bunch of these things for well over $1 million. So,
Wow.
$300,000 for this thing, not bad. So anyway,
Not bad.
That's the Entegra Coach Embark, coming to a California rental fleet sometime next year, and then available to the general public to buy if you're interested in the RV sort of thing.
In the motorhome life.
Yeah.
Motorhome life. Cha-cha.
So as we're recording this, it is now October 5th. We're 5 days into the post-EV tax credit era. And if you didn't get your tax credit, if you didn't get your new EV with the tax credit yet, you're not entirely out of luck yet. GM and Ford came up with an interesting scheme. We'll call it that.
Scheme.
Back in late August, early September, the IRS said, they gave some guidance, said, if you have a firm purchase contract and you make at least the first payment on an EV before September 30th, you can still claim the tax credit even if you haven't taken delivery yet. So if the vehicle is in transit or something, you're waiting for it, you can still get the tax credit. So what Ford and GM did was they went to their dealers that were selling EVs and said, look, if you have any EVs left in inventory on September 30th, we will, if you want, it's opt-in for the dealers. If you want, our financial services arms, so Ford Credit and GM Financial, will buy those EVs from you. You keep them on the lot, and then you can lease them. And we'll buy them from you and make the down payment on them. So then, the leasing company takes the tax credit, which is the way it's always been. And then they factor that tax credit into the monthly lease payment. So if you weren't able to buy one before September 30th, but you still want a Ford or GM EV, while supplies last of those vehicles that were in stock by September 30th, you can still get a pretty good lease price on those things.
That's pretty cool.
Well, Ford
That's a
says
good deal.
until December 31st, but GM says while supplies last. So the GM thing I think is better because I feel like there's going to be a couple Ford dealers that are just going to hide some EVs in the back until January 1st. They're like, oh no, we got that money for the first payment. Now we got to sell it.
Yeah, I think with the IRS, they've ultimately got to sell them or lease them by December 31st anyway. Otherwise, they can't. They'll have to pay back the tax credits. So I think, and I suspect, that they will have gotten rid of most of this stock by the end of December anyway.
Yeah. There you go.
But
you got a couple more months if you want a Ford or a GM.
Yeah.
EV.
Then Hyundai, when they announced their Q3 sales, their September sales on the October 1st, they also announced that they were cutting the price on the Ioniq 5 for model year 2026 by more than $9,000.
That's huge.
Yeah.
The average price reduction is $91.55, and the $75 $100 cash incentive. So you still get the
So
cash
on
incentive
leftover 25 model
on
year
25s.
25s, you still get.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're giving you a $7,500 rebate out of their pocket, and then slashing the price on the model year 26. So the SE is the base model. That starts at just $35,000 for the standard range SE.
You kind of knew they were going to do this, though. Not Hyundai specifically, but you could see the EV shuffle coming.
Yeah.
Like, how do we fix that $7,500 everybody just lost? That's more than that.
Yeah.
They've more than fixed it, but still, yeah.
It's
So
crazy because we're now getting that $35,000. Remember when Tesla was going to give us a $35,000 car?
Right.
We're getting that from Hyundai, and it's an 800-volt vehicle.
Now we're getting it.
So you're getting a more efficient EV for the 30. You know that sort of, I guess you would call it that mythical $3,500
The mythic
EV.
affordable EV.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So even the top of the line Ioniq 5 Limited all-wheel drive, that one dropped from $58,200 to $48,975. And the SEL, the mid-level SEL, that one dropped by $9,800 to $51,000 to $43,300.
So we have a rear-wheel drive SEL, and we have that on lease. And so when the pay, so it's a $50,000 car when we got it. Now, when the lease is up, it's definitely not going to be worth the 35, I guess. That's, I think, the payoff.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be an interesting when our lease is up on this vehicle. Because at this point, my wife's like, let's just buy this car. She's like, I'm done with leasing. She's like, I like the car. We can just get this car. And I'm like, all right. So
my guess is that there will be some opportunity for negotiating that buyout price.
Yeah. Or you can also get one that's like 2 years old for like 26, 25.
Yeah.
I was like
24, like I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, or 24. Yeah, those Ioniqs and the EV6s. I mean, they're great cars. They're 800 volt. They charge quicker. They're more efficient. They might look a little wacky to your average person, but they're just cars, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Hyundai is not going to be the last one to slash some prices on some of their EVs. I'm guessing that Kia is probably going to do the same thing pretty soon if they haven't already.
Yeah, that would be the guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
this is a long-term play too.
Yeah.
I think the Ford and the GM one is like, hey, for short-term we can do this, and then Kia's I'll hold my beer, boom, they just bust through the window like Kool-Aid Man, and they're like, everything's cheaper. There's like, what? Cheaper.
So if you're still looking for an EV, after October 1st, you got a bunch of choices now. Don't forget the Nissan Leaf should be arriving in dealers any day now, starting at $29,900.
I love that car. That was such a good little car.
Yeah,
It's a good little car.
Good little car.
Except for the weird brakes, it's a good little car. Yeah. And only in that one mode. So just don't use E mode.
Just
E-step,
just don't do that. Don't use
Just
that
don't push
one.
that
And then
button.
then it's brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of EVs, still, back in 2022, in August of 2022, Tim Kuniskis took the wraps off the Dodge Charger Daytona SRT concept. So this was the original concept, before we got the production version of the Charger Daytona, and that concept had a different powertrain than what's currently in the production Charger Daytonas. It was a 3-motor, 800 plus horsepower powertrain that they called the Banshee powertrain, and Stellantis had been promising that, that was supposed to be coming in 2026. Apparently, maybe not.
Dun, dun, dun.
Gone.
Yeah.
Gone. Will not exist ever. Well, for now, anyway.
Yeah, the 2-motor Charger Daytonas not been exactly screaming off the lots this year. I think they through September 30th, I think they sold about 4,300 of them. And so the 800 volt architecture Banshee version, it's apparently dead.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's surprised. Is anyone surprised?
No.
I had never seen an angrier car launch than the launch this week. It was just him. It was just like like within the few weeks, it was that event, and then the Rivian event where they showed the R2S and R3, where it was that, like, the Rivian event was like joy and, oh, we're gonna have fun and this is great and we love everything, and the Dodge event was like, cars in America sucks because we don't have this EV and rah, 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 rah. I was like, whoa, subtle. Like, there was such a contrast, and when you're looking at it, you're like, well, why would I buy an EV from the angry people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was very much like, well, we have to make this. Let's do this. Rah. We're going to get rid of all these boring EVs. I'm like, have you driven an EV lately, buddy? I'm like, yeah, there's some boring EVs out there, but there's some boring cars too. Dodge makes some of them. And so maybe, I don't know.
Oh, stop talking about the Hornet that way.
I was trying not to, but. So, yeah, it was such a, they're just going to put a Hemi in everything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, that's apparently what they're going to do with the Charger. Just put the Hemi back in there.
Don't you have a better engine? Shut up, Hemi. That's the Dodge. That's their whole everything. That's their business plan. Hemi.
Yep.
Hemi.
Well, we have
Hemi,
a better
Hemi.
engine. Why don't we call that Hemi? Shut up, Hemi. We're gonna put it.
We could change this. No, Hemi. Hemi is the answer.
Hemi. That's
I'm surprised they haven't called the Hurricane 6-cylinder a Hemi.
Yeah, they should just call everything Hemi.
Hemi.
Well,
Just
they can
call
just
it
keep,
a Hemi.
They can just keep selling the engines they've had for a million years, less efficient, not as powerful. That's probably cheaper for them to make.
And especially, since the administration has said, yeah, we're not going to impose any fines for missing your fuel economy or emissions targets anyway. So it's not going to cost you anything. So you might as well just, throw everything you got in there.
Just goes all in.
Yep.
Of course, in 3 years, who knows what's going to happen after that? You're like, oh no, I can't believe we're.
But Stellantis can book the profits on selling those Hemis today.
Hemis.
Hemi.
Yeah, Stellantis.
Hemi all the things. Hemi all the things.
Any money they can get.
So, who's a big fan of electronic door latches on your cars?
Nobody.
Nobody. No human.
They don't.
No. Okay.
No.
Well, apparently Rivian has finally heard the complaints, or at least sort of heard the complaints. I'm actually going to an event at Rivian's Tech Center tomorrow, and I'll ask them more about this. But for the R2, they are redesigning, and the R2 is supposed to launch sometime next year, sometime in 2026. They are going to redesign the door latches to make it easier, because all these electronic door latches, they have to have a mechanical one as a backup anyway. And I don't remember what the system they had on the R2 looked like, but when they did the refresh of the R1 last year, they changed the way the door latches were set up. So on the door panel, on the front door panel, you got the button on there to release the door. And then literally 2 inches in front of that is just the mechanical latch that you can just pull, which I do not understand. If it's going to be right there, right next to the electronic one, why are you wasting the money on the electronic one? Just have the mechanical one, because it works 100% of the time.
It's some weird perception that it's fancy if it's mechanical. Like it's fancy.
Clever
it's
for the sake of being clever. That's
right.
Yeah. Like we see this a lot in EVs, which is like, oh, we're going to be clever. I'm like, no, don't. Just give us a car.
And I think they're getting less of that, though. Like they're slowly realizing we don't need to make the EV look like something out of a spaceship just for the sake of it, unless it works better. Don't do that. Leave things alone. Use what works, not what just like, ooh, we could do this. Let's see if people hate it.
Unfortunately, no word yet that they're going to redesign the vent controls to make those manual as well.
See, that's also just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, because it's definitely a more expensive system.
And nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. Nobody.
Somebody, the person who came up with it, again, clever for the sake of being clever. It's like, look at this clever thing you can do. You're adding the metaverse to everything. It's like hey, we're going to be in the metaverse, and everyone's like, no. You really want the metaverse? Like, no, we don't
I don't want to
want
be. I don't want that.
We want doors that, like, if there's an accident, the muscle memory of knowing where my door works.
Right. I don't have to take off a plastic latch and go, okay, there's a latch. It comes off here. Then I do this as I have a concussion because I was in a car accident. Like, what the heck?
When I got the Model X for the review, they accidentally gave me a pre-production model. It's a long story. Anyway, one of the problems was that the door wouldn't close, one of the rear Falcon Wing doors. And so I had to pull all these things off to find the manual release to try to get it to do.
Oh my gosh.
And the whole time I'm doing that, I'm like, if there's a fire,
dead.
everyone in the back of this car is going to die.
And
if there's an
that
accident,
has happened in real life. That has happened on more than one occasion.
It is this ridiculous thing. Like, oh, but it's there. I'm like, sometimes I take people in this car who have never been in this car.
And how do you? Yeah, not everybody.
Hold on, everybody, before we leave. If there's
just
an
accident,
if I actually drive into a river,
got to give the passengers a briefing on how to get out in case of emergency.
You got a little charts. You got a laser pointer. They're like, you need to pull this thing up, and then you'll find this one thing, and you pull on this little cable with a little handle on it, and then the door should pop open. Then you'll need to push the door open.
But the biggest thing, aside from not knowing how the heck to open it, is even if you do know how to open it, when you've been in an accident,
your brain's all scrambled.
You're not thinking. You're not like, well, let me see. What did I remember when I read that manual? How does it? You're just like, you've been in an accident. You're not necessarily thinking clearly at that moment.
I was in a Ford Expedition. I was in a review car, and someone just ran into me. They just flew across.
Because it's hard to see.
They just ran into me. Anyway, I pulled over, and because I'm in cars all the time, and because I was just like, all right, it's okay. Someone ran into me, let's pull over. The other people, the people who ran into me, they had been cut off apparently. And so they overcorrected and they lost control and ran into me. And they hit another car. Everyone else was shaking. They were really just super anxious. And I'm just like, hey, how's it going? You guys all right? Are you good? Cool. They're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's fine. It happens. It's, that's what insurance is for. And they're just vibrating with anxiety and adrenaline, and because that's the normal reaction to even a fender bender,
right?
And and the idea that those people would hey, if you had flipped upside down, and the 12-volt battery had become dislodged. Okay, hold on, let me get the owner's manual.
Would calmly remember how to open the doors to the car with a little manual release. No, they wouldn't.
So
they wouldn't. Yeah.
All right. So The Verge launched a new podcast this week called Version History, which I listened to the first episode this morning while I was walking the dogs. And the first episode was about hoverboards. So the premise of the podcast is they're taking a look back at each episode. They're taking a look back at some old piece of technology. And so this year happened to mark the 10th anniversary of when hoverboards first emerged.
Really?
And right before they all started catching on fire and exploding. And so, they talked about hoverboards. And it turns out that, those two-wheel hoverboards where you kind of tilt the sides, to turn and go forward and back, stuff like that. That idea was invented by a guy named Shane Chen. And he got a patent on it and then, got somebody to manufacture these things, and they started selling them in 2015. And within a year, they were all gone. They had all been pulled off the market because they had terrible batteries that kept exploding when you plugged them in. Well, Shane Chen is back. He's got a new patent for a two-wheeled car that is creatively called the Shane. And basically it's a self-balancing car. Do you either of you remember the GM Envy concept from 2010?
I remember that.
Oh gosh.
I don't remember that. I'm looking it up now that you said that.
I know that we're all looking it up.
Click.
And so this was a little self-driving transportation pod.
That does look a little bit like it.
Yeah, and
I see it.
The Envy was based on a Segway chassis, And so, to make it go forward and back to balance the thing, essentially the pod that carried the people would slide back and forth on this Segway chassis to adjust the weight balance. And that's what this thing does. This is basically a larger 5-passenger version of the Envy.
It feels like a vomit machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sense myself getting sick in that immediately.
Well, it depends about how well it's controlled. I mean, I've ridden in the Envy, and it works fine, but I don't see this ever taking off.
I don't want this. Talk about making something complicated for the sake of making it complicated. Ta-da! Yeah. I don't think anybody wants this.
Was the other two wheels really throwing us off? Or are they messing us up?
Was that really too much to put 2 more on there?
Well, the nice thing about a 2-wheeler, because when it's electric is, you can, when you're parking, you to parallel park, you just have one wheel turn one way, the other one turns the other way. You turn 90 degrees on the spot, pull into the parking space, and then turn back again.
You can do a tank turn.
So it'll pull into its parking space in plenty of time for you to flip open the doors and hurl onto the sidewalk.
Yes, exactly.
It'll do an E-turn. The Mercedes-Benz, the G-Wagon. You could do
yes.
It'll do that, but it'll yeah. I don't know.
I don't want this. I mean, I would ride in it once just to see, but it makes me feel, it hurts my head just thinking about what that would be like to ride in. No. Also, the bursting into flame thing from the hoverboard still has me a little concerned.
That was a battery problem, though.
On it. I know. Have they conquered all these problems, though?
I mean, you could have got better batteries. It's just that they were super cheap, and so they were using super cheap batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This thing ain't going to be super cheap.
This is not going to be super cheap.
It's like the super cheap e-bikes that people were buying for years, especially in New York for some reason.
Yeah.
People are getting really cheap e-bikes, and then the batteries were just trash, and so they would just catch on fire.
Okay. One last one. The Nissan Xterra. Apparently, it's coming back. Well, actually, never mind. I was going to say something that I shouldn't say, but it's coming back.
Wait, are we allowed to say anything?
Well, this is reported by Motor Trend and a bunch of other sites.
Okay, I saw something.
There you go.
Yeah.
There we go. I saw something.
I saw the story online.
I saw the story on Motor Trend.
And
yes.
or actually, it was originally reported by Bloomberg. And it was Christian Munier, who's the chairman of Nissan Americas, who told Bloomberg that they were going to relaunch the Xterra.
All right, so we can say stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, do I say anything? That was that was a busy week for me in Japan. What can I say? I'm still not 100% sure what I can and cannot talk about.
The number of times you do that. Oh, I have a really cool thing to add. Nope. No, I don't.
Wait.
No, I don't. I changed my mind. No, I don't.
Anyway, so the Xterra, for those who don't remember, was the 4-wheel drive off-road, the more off-road oriented SUV that Nissan had from 2000 to 2015. I think they had 2 generations of it, and then discontinued it in 2015, just in time for this segment to really start to take off.
To explode.
Bad timing all the way around.
Yeah.
This is like the Subaru Baja. People are like, boo, Baja. Now they're like, oh.
What, can you have that now?
And, this render that Motor Trend has, basically looks like they told ChatGPT to take a Nissan Rogue and make it off-roady. So I don't think this is what it's going to look like.
I know. It's a cool looking,
I think we're allowed to say that.
Meaningless render.
Yeah. We can say we don't think this is what it looked like. I think we're allowed to say that.
Yeah. So anyway, the Xterra is apparently going to be built at Nissan's Canton, Mississippi factory, where they had previously been planning to build a couple of new EVs, including a new Nissan Maxima. That and an Infinity EV have apparently been put on the shelf for the foreseeable future, and they're going to build the Xterra instead. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I like that the Xterra took up the mantle that the Pathfinder has sort of lost. Mm-hmm. And I think that, based on everyone wants to go off-road, but they don't really actually go off-road all the time. I think this is, if it looks cool, if it's capable, I think capability is a big thing that maybe, some automakers have brought back a name, but didn't really give it the chops that people wanted. I think we talked about Toyota a little bit ago. Yeah, if they can pass we'll see. Go Nissan, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm excited. I think that's, I mean, I'd love to see this come back. I just thought it was kind of cool back when it was out before. So, like, I hope it's, like you said, though, I hope it's actually off-road. It needs that capability. Like, there's so many things now.
Yeah, and that's the problem is there's a lot more competition now than there was in 2000 or 2015. You've got, Wranglers and Broncos and 4Runners and even the Nissan Passport or Honda Passport. Is there going to be enough space in the market for a vehicle like this?
It'll have to be really good to snag its own.
It's going to be really good and really different and really tug on, they got to try to sort of build up that Bronco hype.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah, they do. Because otherwise it's going to just be an also-ran. They've got to do something big. Come on, Nissan, nail it. I would like them to do that. I would like to see it succeed.
All right.
Bummed about the Maxima. It was a 4-door sports car. Remember when when it came out? It had the F4
4DSC.
CSC on the little sticker on the window. My uncle got one. I remember that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is all of the stories we've got for this week. I do also have 2 interviews that I did. A couple of days ago, I talked with Micah Tinder, who's from Cox Automotive. And I think earlier this summer when we bought our EV6, I talked a little bit about the experience I had with the KBB Instant Cash Offer program. So I talked with Micah about that and how they come up with pricing for the for used vehicles and how that Instant Cash Offer program works. So a lot of good information in there for anybody that is wondering how they come up with used car valuations and how different dealers come up with different numbers. And then I also talked with Josh Serafman, who is the CEO of Michigan Central, which is the former Michigan Central Station.
I still need to see that. I have not seen it. It's on my list.
And then Carolina Plasinski, who is the COO of Michigan Central. So, Michigan Central is the organization that oversees that entire campus, and not just the train station, but also the new lab and some other stuff around there.
Robbie makes train noises because he's 12. Choo choo. He's also making a little hand motion too to go with that, just so everyone knows.
So keep listening for those conversations coming up right after we say goodbye.
Bye.
Oh wait, I forgot to plug my new podcast.
Oh, tell us about
not
it.
Goodbye. So
we got SAE has a new podcast. It's the SAE Automotive Engineering Podcast. It's because it's the Automotive Engineering Magazine. We have a magazine. And on the podcast, what we do is instead of trying to get the 3 of us who work on that magazine plus a guest, what we do instead is that we each go out and we find a person to talk to about a certain topic. I accidentally recreated This American Life for cars. That's I wrote it all down and then I was like, sent it out and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I was sitting there and then I was listening to This American Life. I'm like, oh no. Obviously we don't have Ira Glass or anything like that, but the first one was about the state of EVs. We talked to Slate and BMW. We're doing 1 a month right now. And then we'll probably move on more later. Anyway, SAE
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Automotive
I listened to the first one. It was really good.
Cool. Oh, thanks, Sam.
Yeah. And then I also, and don't forget, there's also the Telemetry Transportation Daily, 2-minute daily hit on some news item of the day.
Those are cool. I like those little short podcasts where you're just like, what's going on? Yeah. You're driving to wherever you go, I guess. I don't know.
I just have to find the link here to the SAE podcast.
Oh, I'll send you a link because there's an issue. You can just go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and look up SAE Automotive Podcasts. I'll send you I guess everyone uses Spotify. Can Android?
Actually, most of our
Apple?
listeners don't.
What are they listening? What are they using? Pocket Cast or something?
Most of them, Apple. Strangely enough, Apple Podcasts is number 1, and Overcast, and then Pocket Casts are the top 3.
I think Apple Podcasts is our
Spotify's down
number
about
1.
5 or 6.
Wow. I'm going to send you a link so you can put it in the show
There we
notes.
go.
Okay. So I will include that link in the show notes for today's show. So make sure that as you hear this, then go into whatever podcast player you're listening to and add that to your subscription list, because it is definitely worth listening to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the next one is what is it? Oh, EV manufacturing. So we're setting that up right now.
Excellent.
For October.
Okay. So now are we goodbye?
Yes, we can say goodbye now.
Now we're officially goodbye. Goodbye,
All right,
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, everybody. I am back, and today I am talking with Micah Tinder, who is Senior Director of Strategic Planning at Cox Automotive. And I reached out to my friends at Cox recently, earlier this summer, hoping to talk to Micah or somebody on the team there to learn a little bit more about used car valuation and what triggered this, Michael. I don't know if Mark or Lisa told you what kicked this whole conversation off was the KBB, Kelley Blue Book, which is part of Cox Automotive, has this instant cash offer thing. So you can go in, you can get an estimate of your car's value or the value of a car that you're considering buying if it's a used car. And then if you're getting rid of a car, you can get an instant cash offer from dealers. So I want to learn more about the whole process of figuring out the value of used cars and how that instant cash offer program works. So let's start off there. Kind of what is the scope of what you do at Cox?
At Cox Automotive, I have responsibility for the instant cash offer business, as well as the new effort that we have to ensure that when a consumer lands on KBB or Auto Trader and wants to understand the vehicle value, whether it's a value range or an instant cash offer, that it all is through one seamless platform with some guidance and in a way that makes sense, right? We don't want you to have to go to one part of the site to understand what's roughly my vehicle worth if you're very, very early on in your shopping process, and then have to go to instant cash offer later. And I have responsibility for kind of unifying that across the KBB platform. So I am delighted to be here and chat with you around all things vehicles and vehicle valuations. I've been in the industry about 17 and a half years, and the vast majority of them have been thinking about how do you appraise a vehicle, the part of the instant cash offer, how do you properly account for everything as a dealer, and then how do you price it correctly. Really that variable ops side has been my focus for a long time. So love the space. Excited to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned Auto Trader. I mean, that was actually what kicked off this whole process because my wife and I decided to buy an electric vehicle, buying a used EV. And I found the one that we ultimately ended up buying through Auto Trader. When we made the decision, let's go ahead and get an EV. The first thing I did was I went to Auto Trader and looked up what we were looking for and found one a couple of hours away at a dealer that was the right vehicle at what turned out to be a fantastic price. And then, once I located that, started the process of, figuring out, okay, the car we're replacing, how do we, what's our best solution there? And so, tell me kind of what's the process of determining a value of a used car?
It really depends, Sam, on where you are in the journey of getting rid of your car as a consumer. And I always like to start there because from a KBB perspective, what we're really focused on and what we have led the industry in for almost 100 years is building confidence for the consumers by providing transparency in the process. And we've done a lot of research about consumers looking to sell their cars, whether it's peer-to-peer or to a dealer. And the average consumer takes 77 days to get from the point that they start looking at a vehicle like you and your wife did on Auto Trader until they end up disposing of their
maybe 77 minutes. But
I figured that you'd probably a little bit ahead of the curve, got a little more industry knowledge than the average person. But because of that, we actually have two different complete sets of offerings at KBB. One provides consumers a value range with a very light set of engagements so that when they're in day 1 to 15 of their process and they want to understand in the back of my mind roughly what my vehicle worth, so that as I go out and look at other vehicles, I know roughly how much I'm going to have to finance. They don't want to talk to a dealer. They don't want a cash offer that requires a lot of lift. That process is really all about the consumer coming in, giving us their vehicle information. Of course, what we're looking to do is decode that information with a VIN or license plate so we can understand everything that's on the vehicle, because we don't expect everyone out in the market to be able to go through and pick each of the trim pieces correctly. We will make sure they get the proper value for their vehicle. So they're going to decode the VIN or license plate. We're going to ask them a couple questions around miles, anything that can't decode, and then we're going to go by condition tier at that point. Because we're in the early stage, you just need a general range. We're going to go excellent, very good, good, or poor. At that point, you get a value range and likely where you sit. The consumer can run around with that and start to do their shopping process. And that's the first half of the value range. The second half of what KBB provides consumers is an instant cash offer, which is at the point you're getting ready to transact like you and your wife were. It is going in and doing a granular assessment of your vehicle so you can get a dollar exact cash offer that we then pass to a network of dealers who have contractually agreed to honor that price unless you misrepresent the damage. So the customer experience in that flow is you go in, enter your VIN or license plate again. That then takes you through the same series of steps around what colors your vehicle, anything that didn't decode, do you have extra keys, do you do any mods? And then the big difference is we ask you to do a granular damage assessment. And it's pretty light. The average consumer only takes 2 minutes in the entire process. But it has an exploded vehicle view for interior, exterior, mechanical, and little plus and minus signs. And you just go through and put a little plus sign anywhere there's damage. That then gives us the ability to accurately price the vehicle, and talk about the details if you want of how we go about pricing. It gives the ability to accurately price the vehicle based on the statistical averages in the market and outliers that you have entered. We give you a value, and then we connect you to up to 3 dealers in our network who are interested in that vehicle at that price.
Okay. And so, yeah, that was kind of the at least the first part of that was the experience I went through. Once we decided on the car we wanted to purchase, before I contacted the dealer about purchasing that car, I went to KBB and, went through that process, which I've done numerous times over the years in the past when I bought cars. In the past, this is the first time when I've decided to actually sell a car to a dealer, as opposed to in the past, I've usually just sold them private party. We used to be that we lived in a house, that was on a fairly busy street. I could park the car at the end of the driveway, put a for sale sign in it, and within not too much time, I would sell it. And, part of the way, the way that I figured out, what price is I'd actually go to KBB and figure out, here's what this car should be worth. And so I've done that in the past for private party sales. And this is the first time that I've used the instant cash offer part of it. So I went through that process of valuing the car. I took a bunch of photos and uploaded them, and those were evaluated. It came back with a price that seemed very reasonable to me. So the first thing I did, before I actually did actually approved the instant cash offer, I contacted the dealer that we were buying the car from, and said, how much will you give me for a trade-in on this? And they gave me a much lower value than that. And I think one of the issues here, as part of this process is, the dealers themselves. You mentioned that they're contractually obligated if they're participating in the instant cash offer. This was not the instant cash offer thing with the dealer we were buying from. It was just a straight up trade. And when dealers are taking cars on a trade-in or buying used cars, maybe talk a little bit more about that process. What impacts their decision making in how they value a car?
So we have been looking for the last year and a half at what do the consumers expect of the process of disposing of their vehicle, both peer-to-peer, as you mentioned, doing in the past, and selling to a dealer as you did recently. And then we've also done a lot of research around what are the normal dealer processes. And if I put my kind of retail hat back on, going back to the dealership world, when a vehicle comes into a dealership, what they're going to do is put the VIN into a inventory management tool. Cox has one called Viato that about 68% of the market uses. And it's going to do some decodes, and it's going to provide you relevant, competitive set vehicles. So vehicles like that, same year, make, model, trim, rough mile band, and color. And it's going to tell you depending on where you put your buying number with the consumer, your appraised value, what your average cost to market is. Meaning, let's say I offer you $25,000 for your vehicle, Sam. It's going to tell me that I am about $2,000 more expensive than average, or $1,000 less expensive than average. And then what I do as a dealer is do retail back, which means I'm going to figure out what I sell the vehicle for. And there are some tools in that pricing to help me understand what I'm going to sell for. Then I'm going to minus off any pack the dealership has. And a pack is pre-built profit that a dealer principal adds that automatically comes off the value of the vehicle. Recon costs, any transport costs, anything that's a cost. And that's going to get me to the max number that I could give you on your trade as a dealer. At that point, most dealers are going to try you on for a little bit lower number. Everyone likes to haggle, right? Everyone likes to negotiate. No one's going to give you the top number off the rip. So most dealers are going to take that retail number, take all the costs off, take their max number, and then come in with something lower and see if they can get you to bite there. Try to steal a deal is what dealers call it. And then they'd like to try to work their way up. What is interesting is the consumer perspective has really changed during COVID and through now, where it used to be consumers would go to maybe one or two online sites at max, and then they'd show up at a dealer. And a lot of consumers would show up at a dealer never having gone through an online appraisal process, and the dealer would be the first one to talk about what a vehicle's worth. Now, the average consumer has 2.6 cash offers by the time they arrive at a dealership. And if they're millennial or Gen Z, they're a lot closer to 4 to 6 cash offers. And the consumers now have a set of expectations, right? You go through all these different online experiences, you understand your vehicle's between $23,000 and $25,000. Now I, as a consumer, showing up at the dealership, expecting you as the dealer to help me understand, why is there a difference? Where is my car actually in there? And we all as consumers want the dealer to kind of partner with us through that process. So one of the areas that dealers are really trying to work on improving right now is when they reach that appraised amount that can be the max value they're willing to give, trying to understand how much are you expecting to get, where do they sit in that range, and where do they need to come in on their initial offer. Because anytime, let's say the dealer's top is 25, I have an offer for 25 and you offer me 23,000, I'm going to feel like you're ripping me off if you don't give me any explanation. So dealers more and more are trying to close that gap, and it is a gap in the market. But the way dealers are going to do it on average is understand what they can sell the vehicle for, look for damages to reduce the value of the vehicle based on damages, take all the other amounts off, get their max amount, and then try to work as low as they can versus that in the negotiation with you.
Okay. Yeah. So, the car that we were getting rid of was a Honda Civic. And the dealer we were buying from was a Hyundai dealer in Ohio. He offered us a trade-in price that was about $5,200 less than what the instant cash offer was showing. And so I said, yeah, never mind. I will I'll get rid of the car somewhere else. So we went and picked up the car we were buying from that dealer. We bought from that dealer because it was a good price on that car. But then I got my three offers. Actually, probably might have even been more than three, because I was getting calls from a bunch of dealers, like within minutes after I accepted the price that Instant Cash Offer gave me. I started getting calls from dealers, and so the first one I responded to was a Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram dealer that is literally about 3 minutes away from me. So it was convenient. So I took the car over there, and they, after taking a look at the car, basically offered me the same amount that the dealer we bought the other car from, the Hyundai dealer, which was about more than $5,000 below the instant cash offer. And so I said, and also at the same time that I did the instant cash offer, I had also gone on Carvana, to see what I could get there. And I got a price from there, which was a little bit lower than what the instant cash offer was, but still pretty reasonable. So I declined that offer from the Stellantis dealer. And the next one on the list was actually a Honda dealer, which was the one that we originally bought the car from 8 years ago. And so I called them and said, hey, are you still interested? And, if so, can I bring the car over for you to take a look at it? And they said, yeah, okay, I'll be there in 15 minutes. So I went straight from the Stellantis dealer to the Honda dealer. They, went through, they did an inspection of the car. they came back with a price as well that was also a little bit less than what the instant cash offer was, but it was a lot closer. It was actually the same price as what Carvana was offering, and I opted to take that. But maybe talk a little bit more about how that ultimate pricing choice or that pricing decision for the instant cash offer works.
So the way instant cash offer works is a dealer signs on to be a partner with Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer. And they're doing that because they want that trust bridge, right? You come to KBB, we give you a value, you trust KBB, and we bridge that trust into a dealer as a starting point to remove some of the price negotiation that everyone likes to fight on. So the dealer's responsibility under the contract is when a vehicle arrives, they're responsible to go out and confirm the damages you've entered. So you went through the experience and probably entered bits of damages here and there, considering the age of the vehicle, maybe a few dents, few paint chips. Is that safe to assume? The dealer's responsibility then is to go through and identify, is there any damage that you might have missed? And we ask the dealer to do that for two reasons. One is at times the consumer, again, not as much industry knowledge as you, may not know how to correctly assess something. I may think in my mind that my vehicle is really good for its age, and it may have dents, paint chips, some balding tires, and some sunburn. But for its age, it's good to me. But from a dealer perspective, they have to look at is, can I resell that car? And is anyone out there in the retail market desire to buy that car? So one is the dealer is supposed to work with the consumer to ensure that they missed anything, that the dealer can identify it. If the dealer does identify new damage, they don't get to pick what price it is to repair. They have to go into our system and say, say I missed a bumper repair. They're going to log it as a bumper repair. We will reprice the vehicle with the bumper repair so that there's visibility to you and to the dealer. We'll deliver a side-by-side that has green lettering that shows the adjustment and the adjusted price. So we ask the dealer to do it first to ensure that it's accurate. And then second is because the dealer has to buy the car. And we have a backstop guarantee on that vehicle as KBB ICO. We want to ensure that the dealers in our network are willing to honor the price of the vehicle that we set for the correct damage. So if you need to adjust damage, they will. And in order to do that, we need to know what is the dealer confirmed amount that we will send them a check for if they don't want the vehicle in the end. As a reality for any dealer is each dealer has a really a niche of what they sell. Certain dealers are phenomenal at selling F-150. Certain dealers are phenomenal at selling Kias. And we don't expect a dealer to always be able to take the vehicle into inventory profitably. But we want to ensure that you get the right number for your vehicle based on the condition. So what we ask the dealers to do contractually is make adjustments for damage that are accurate. Whatever that final adjusted value we deliver after they adjust for damages, to buy the vehicle at that price. And then if they don't want it, we'll backstop it to make sure that you have the experience of delivering that value. Now, all that said, we do work with over 5,000 dealers across the U.S. And as with any dealer, it's employing 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people. On the sales side, there are times where salespeople make mistakes, whether accidentally or intentionally, where the process might not go exactly as expected. So we do have a call center for any consumer who has an experience that they don't think matches that brand promise from KBB, where they can call in and then we'll help sort through that process with them and the dealer.
Okay. It sounds like, it sounds like a very reasonable approach. Obviously you want to get the consumer the best price they can, but the dealers are businesses, and they've got to make money. And if they don't think that they can sell a particular cars, you mentioned some dealers might be really good at selling Kias, others might be really good at selling F-150s. Stellantis dealer maybe a little less confident about selling a Honda Civic, and so maybe they were. Because it sounds like there's always going to be some amount of subjective judgment in evaluating the car. You've set standard prices for various bits of damage, based on your valuation models, and they have to use those standard prices. But whether or not the whoever's doing the inspection at the dealer says, yeah, I'm going to let that go, or yeah, I'm going to count that paint chip. So they've got. There's some flexibility there in how they do that if they decide that they're less confident about selling a particular car.
I think that's a good call out, Sam. As part of that appraisal process where the dealer goes out and walks the car with you and looks at damage, there are personality differences and there might be money motivational differences. I might be super attentive to details and I might nitpick the car, and I might be accurate, but it's because I'm attentive to detail. And my brother might not be as attentive to detail, might do the exact same thing at the dealership, and you could get different values. In fact, one of the things that we learned when we did the dealer survey of what is your appraisal process and does it match consumer expectations is if you have 4 people appraise the same vehicle, take a guess at what % of the time you see the same price from all 4.
I would say at best it's probably low single digits %.
That's a good guess because it's 0. Because of subjectivity at the human level, every person's experience is different. What they like in a vehicle is different. What they don't like is different. Because of that subjectivity, no single person at the dealership appraises the vehicle the same way. So one of the things we're working on right now that we'll release next year is adding AI into the damage detection process, where we'll ask you as a consumer, Sam, to go around and take a couple framed in pictures, meaning that little white outline that you overlay on your vehicle. We'll have AI do the damage detection. We'll have AI then tell us what's wrong and make the adjustments. Then you and the dealer both can work with us to make adjustments versus the AI if something was wrong. But one of the things that we're looking to do is from a subjectivity perspective, we're looking to normalize. We should reach a point in the industry with data where a vehicle is appraised the same way. Now, dealers still in the end, outside the ICO process, just general dealer processes are going to put different prices on a vehicle, regardless if you get the same appraisal process. But we're really looking to help dealers standardize the appraisal process to have less human variance and let that variance really be around what does supply and demand uniquely for my dealership look like in how much money I put on that car.
Yeah, and I believe Mannheim Auctions, which is another part of Cox, another Cox business, you're already using some of that AI. I think you at your facilities, your auction facilities, there's a system where cars drive through and it takes a bunch of photos from various angles and already doing that sort of analysis. Is that using the same technology or building on that same technology base for what you're talking about here for the instant cash offer?
Yep, that's exactly right, Sam. We call them fixed imaging tunnels at our Mannheim location. It's about 100 feet long. A tunnel that you drive through has all kinds of cameras and lights, all kinds of angles. Obviously, with a cell phone, with dirt, shadows, instability in my hands, it's a lot harder. So the team's been working for a while on converting that core technological capability of photos to AI damage capture into the ability to do it on a mobile phone. We're testing it right now with the intent of deploying that same technology in a more mobile-friendly version here next year.
Awesome. Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, I ended up selling the car to the Honda dealer that we originally bought it from for a price that was, not exactly what the original cash offer was, but it was close enough to it that I was satisfied with it. After they pointed out some things that I had missed. As you said, it's the owner. When you're living with something for a number of years, then it changes over time subtly. There's going to be things that the owner is not going to catch that somebody looking at it for the first time is, and also that is arguably a professional is going to flag. And, these are things that we know we're going to have to fix before we turn around and sell it. Plus, Honda dealer probably, they could probably get that stuff fixed up and turn that car and sell it to somebody else probably within a week or two after they bought it. So, yeah, I mean, in the end, it was a good experience. It was a lot less hassle than trying to sell it private party. So, I'm glad I went that approach.
In the end, what we're trying to do is have a one-stop disposal shop for consumers at KBB. Consumers are ready to come to us as a trusted source to understand what their vehicle's worth, what vehicle they should buy next, do that research. So we want to provide all the options that you need to dispose of most easily right there. We have a peer-to-peer site that we've been working on building out for a while. We have the dealer side. I'm glad to hear in the end it worked out. That is always our goal, is to try to help balance the process, make it as easy as possible for you as a consumer, make it easy as possible for the dealer, and provide transparency as part of it. So I'm glad to hear it worked out for you in the end. It's a product that I really like, having been in the industry a long time, but also hating to buy and sell cars from a dealer. I really like the transparency the process brings, so I'm glad that it worked out well for you.
Yeah, and it sounds like, with some of the things that you're working on, that it should get even more consistent in the future. So, I think it's something I would probably recommend to people to look at as an alternative. If they're buying a car and need to get rid of an existing vehicle and don't necessarily aren't necessarily happy with what they're being offered on a trade-in. I think this is a very reasonable alternative.
I agree. Our goal is to provide the correct value for a vehicle based on your inputs, and that give you the dealers to work with. In the end, it's going to come down to who do you want to work with, Sam? Did they treat you correctly? Did they explain the process so that you feel confident in it? And for any of the consumers out there, that's our goal. And as we move into 26, there's a number of things we're working on to try to more and more standardize the process, make it easier and easier for there to be that trust, that transparency, the confidence. Because in the end, most people will rate buying and selling a car below visiting a dentist, which doesn't sound very exciting. And we want to do our part sitting in as that trust bridge between the consumer and the dealer to help make it an easier process. And hopefully we see it notch up above dentist here in the next year or two as we do some
Sounds great. Well, Micah, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate you having me on. Appreciate being part of what you're doing here with the listeners.
You hear Josh Surfman, CEO of Michigan Central, Carolina Plasinski,
That's
COO of New Lab, right?
Michigan Central.
Michigan Central. Okay. And Sean White. Sean, your role is what?
Director of Strategy.
Director of Strategy. Okay. So, we're in this room now that has just been, the displays in here have just been finished up. And I think this is probably a good place to start because, I think when most people think of Michigan Central, they think of this particular building, the train station.
Right.
And the remarkable restoration that's been done on this building. But let's step back a little bit. When from your perspective, New Lab, or rather as Michigan Central, it's actually a whole complex, a whole campus, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's really a 30-acre innovation district. We think of it as both a tech and culture hub because really it's about bringing all of that together. And across that campus, we're fostering what is really a unique world-leading community of entrepreneurs working with businesses, academia, philanthropy, government, corporates, really like nowhere else, focused on the future of mobility, next-generation manufacturing, application of robotics and AI to any of a number of uses, alternative energies. So really, in the centered around these beautiful, too old, historic, incredibly iconic and significant buildings, the future is being invented in them. It was kind of beautiful.
Yeah. So the two buildings, the train station here with the tower, and then across the street is New Lab, which is the former Detroit School Book Depository. Right.
That's right.
That's right. Office prior to that.
Yeah. And so what? I guess those two anchor buildings. What would you if someone were to walk through New Lab, what would they find in there today? What's in there?
So I think you would see that to me is where we are co-locating startups and entrepreneurs and the government and corporates together. They're building their prototypes. They're having those collisions and talking about fundraising and really trying to break down the barriers for them to get to scale. And so that work is all happening in that building. They can go up and they can talk to the state of Michigan. They can have the conversations with other entrepreneurs to make their products better. We have companies that are co-locating with some of the startups in robotics to help them inform their robotics arms so that they work in their plants. So if they launch, they can put them in their facilities. If you actually see the work happening, it's not theoretical.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to go through New Lab several times over the last couple of years since it opened for various events, and met with a bunch of the companies in there. So you got companies like Grounded RV that's building electric.
They've expanded to a 12,000 square foot warehouse we have ours. their growth just keeps pushing more to more scale for them.
That's right. That's fantastic. I was actually in Elkhart, Indiana last week for the big RV open house that Thor Industries hosts there. And there's various other companies that are also there. You know, it's basically a dealer show for RVs. And I saw Grounded was there. You know, they had one of their RVs there. It's a really interesting idea. But then, you know, you've got other things. You've got some drone companies in here. You've got companies doing some interesting things with manufacturing. It's electric. And I think Voltpost is also in here as well. So you got at least 2 different companies in the EV charging space. So I guess, are there any limitation to what kinds of companies you would allow to come into New Lab?
Well, I think New Lab has an application process that they go through, and they're really focused on hard tech startups because we have the resources for that, right? We have the resources to help them build. We have the resources for them to be able to test in the real world. But I think what Michigan Central does is they wrap around with the other types of stakeholders that we need in this ecosystem. So we have university partners, we have corporates that we are starting to plug in. Actually, Cummins is actually in the building today. They're one of the first companies that actually have taken space here because they believe the value and the proximity is something that's really important. I think that all of those other pieces coming together is really what makes our ecosystem unique.
But, you know, on your question, there's so many applications of technology towards outcomes that aren't even known. We're not in the business of saying this company's not, what they're doing doesn't apply. It's more about where they headed with it. What do we think about the potential for them? And I think through that, what we found is that while mobility is the core, we have companies doing all kinds of work that has threads to either mobility or other spaces where over time it's all going to merge together. We even have a company focused on capturing data from plants and how they communicate. And to think about the use cases can be applied in a million different ways. So, you know, we really, the ecosystem is almost naturally growing and building on itself though.
Yeah, and mobility really, the key to mobility, to make future mobility workable, is that ecosystem. You need all the pieces. It's not just one thing like building an EV. You need charging. You need back-end services if you're going to do robotaxi or automated shuttle services. There's all kinds of pieces that are part of that puzzle.
The other thing that you need is talent. And so we spent a lot of energy around thinking about the jobs of the future. We have a very robust pipeline of STEM programming for kids, where kids are learning how to fly drones and getting their pilot's license, where they're learning how to code here. A Boys and Girls Club will be opening soon, and they're partnering with us on those types of technologies. We do adult education as well.
Because they're in this building in East Station.
Yeah. And so, you know, you got to have the talent in a lot of our startups. Then you've set at the pipeline to hire folks. We do fellowships with our university partners to be able to keep the talent in Michigan and to help the startups grow.
So it's not just the work in the buildings. We're standing in the middle of a 3-mile radius where you can test out of line of sight use of drones in the urban context, but you really can't do anywhere else in the country. And so what Carolina was describing about all those pieces, it actually comes together in like real world piloting and testing and application and accelerated product development.
Yeah, and I think recently wasn't there an announcement from either from Umtree or M-City about setting up a corridor working with the state between Ann Arbor and the Michigan Central campus, right? Or for some of that out of the line of sight testing.
Yeah, really robust rail lines that you can follow, because with drones out of sight, you can't fly for people. And so when you think about the rail lines, when you think about the waterfront, we're situated in a very unique environment that has all of those opportunities to be able to kind of push the boundaries on beyond line of sight.
And I know the last time I was here at New Lab, a month and a half or so ago for an event, I was talking to one company that was in the, it was a drone company that was working, they were already testing their drones, delivering parts to another building nearby here. They were manufacturing some parts here in their space in New Lab, I think, and using the drones to fly those parts back and forth.
Yeah, that was Aerial Loop.
Yes, that's the one.
Aerial Loop. They've done about 500 to 600 flights back and forth. They've gotten beyond line of sight waivers, and so they're the one that we did a test about a week ago where we flew to Hartplava from Michigan Central and actually delivered chip rails to the mayor. So just to show the real world application of it, right? And one of the pilots, you have to have a pilot where you launch and a pilot where you land when you do line of sight. The pilot at the launch was one of the kids that was trained here. He was 17 and got his, drone pilot license. So he was actually flying the drone.
Yeah. So how many companies are working out of New Lab now at this point?
Within the New Lab community of companies, about 180.
Okay.
Overall, when you factor in all of the entities working Michigan Central, we're getting close to about 250.
Okay. So shifting the focus over to this building, to the station, obviously it's a different kind of environment from what you've got in New Lab. For the companies in here, you've got office space and other facilities available for them.
Yeah, well, if you think about, and you've spent a lot of time in New Lab, you know how lively the public space is, and that's a key part of it, where we always have things happening, and it's about people meeting each other and mixing. That holds true at an even greater scale here. And so the ground floor, today as an example, we constantly have things happening. We're now part of the west side of the ground floor is under construction because our hotel, the Nomad Detroit, Michigan Central, is starting to get built out. So the environment here will be very lively all the time. But what we're trying to do is create an ecosystem where people are going back and forth between the two spaces. So in addition to the office space, we have additional membership space, a working space similar to what you see across the street that we're building out now, where we'll continue that expansion of the membership community. And the goal is really that it's sort of seamless between the two. And yes, by definition, slightly different experience in this building, but we want that same entrepreneurial energy and that same mixing of people to be happening here as well.
And, so now at this point here in the station, you've got the ground floor that is mostly kind of an event space. A lot of
flexible now. We have some of retail. We'll have more over time, more food and beverage over time. And then lots of folks in the tower. The top 5 floors will be when you own that. Okay. Those 5 floors, by the way, never finished, never occupied since 1913 Priam. And we've got Ford with a couple of its really forward-facing business units.
Ford's Model E team is based in
Model E and integrated systems. And we've got, Carolina mentioned, we have our youth floor, the girls club, and our STEM training facility. All kinds of programs happening. And over time, we'll be adding others, plus the membership. And so it becomes this really active, vibrant mix of activity all the time.
So how's this all funded?
All of the work where the buildings was funded by this extraordinary and catalytic investment from Ford Motor Company. Michigan Central itself, we start over time. We have different ways now that we can try to generate revenue, and the goal is that we become self-sustaining. We have tons of great partners. The state of Michigan, city of Detroit, a number of foundations have allowed us to scale programming. We have corporate partners, who is a great partner. So over time, we keep building that community that can really help scale this and ensure that we're driving that ecosystem.
So for the companies, the organizations that are part of this community, these 250-ish companies now, are they paying rent for the space that they're using or for the facility?
Yeah, most of it is structured around membership fees.
Okay.
Everybody is committed to being here, and it's obviously we're building something special that I think people want to be a part of. And we also have to make it work.
Yeah. So at the top of this, you mentioned, a tech and a cultural hub. Let's dip into the cultural part of it. What else is going on here besides all the tech community that's building stuff? What else is going on?
Yeah, it's actually we don't think about it as two separate things. So, for example, we have foundation funding to build an art technology program. So we've got 23 artists in residence actually in New Lab. Who are able to explore their medium, use the shops and create things and really wrestle with technology issues and questions. We do a ton in this building, a public program where we want to bring people in, we want to make it a really dynamic environment. always where it's something a little bit unexpected. It's a little bit different, and that's because this ties to sort of we're creating a forward-looking environment, so focused on innovation. But we love to have all kinds of people here, and all on this premise that everybody is capable of innovating. Like innovation isn't just somebody sitting and designing software, or somebody just building a prototype. It's the energy and the environment and the interactions that really fuel that.
And I would just say the part of the vision around this building, I mean, the love for this building being in Detroiter, was to give the first floor at least back to the community and make them feel welcoming to come into the community. I mean, for a long time, this building separated Corktown from Southwest. And so having activity that's here where the kids can come and just hang out. I mean, there was chess club on the weekend a couple of weeks ago where kids are learning how to play chess. There was movies during winter at the station where you could come and hang out and kids could sit on a rug and watch movies. We want that energy here. We want everyone to feel welcome to come in.
Mm-hmm. So when there aren't events like today, there's the Ford Pro Accelerate event. At other times, is the ground floor basically open to the community most of the time?
Yeah, most of the time it's open to the public, and every day, and we try. We can't always balance everything, but we try to make sure that this corridor is open to the public every day, that people can come in and look at some of the spaces. So we're still learning how do we balance all things, but the goal, as Carolina said, is to be a real public asset.
Yeah, I mean, having been through here a few times now, I highly encourage anyone who's in the area who hasn't seen it yet to take a walk through and just explore. It's amazing. Yeah. And are you also are there tours available? Guided tours?
Yes, we do private guided tours. So you can go to our website for that, or Detroit History Tours website. We cannot. The demand is extraordinary. Beyond that, all of our capacity gets filled, and we add capacity as we can. But we love for people to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for being the pre-race visitor.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
anytime.
Appreciate it.